Hi everyone, welcome back to Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. And of course, it is about our moody, grumpy Swedish striker yet again. Alexander Isak is back in the news for all the wrong reasons. David Ornstein of The Athletic throwing out a story that apparently Alexander Isak is refusing to play for Newcastle, even if he does not get a move away to Liverpool in this transfer window. I'm going to get into this in a second, unpack what I think about it. Is it a power play from Isak's people or is it desperation? A little bit of both, I think. But it's no surprise that this story has come out from David Ornstein, given the fact that Liverpool lost at the weekend in the Community Shield. Congratulations, Crystal Palace again, by the way. Well done, guys. That's become one of my favourite teams, even though I hate Steve Parish. But Liverpool lost that game. Ekatike scored. He was given all this shit, as if he's already getting affected by the noise of the Isak links. It's just the weirdest transfer I've ever seen in my life from Liverpool. Why go and sign Ekatike when you're going to try and unsettle Isak to agitate for a move? Bizarre. You're actually going to upset your own player that you just signed and scored a good goal, to be fair, against Crystal Palace. But enough about them lot. I'm sick of talking about them and reading their comments, which I've just stopped doing, by the way, so don't waste your breath, Liverpool fans. But the situation for Alexander Isak is this. Newcastle are digging their heels in because two things have to happen for the Alexander Isak Liverpool move to take place. Number one, and the important one, Liverpool have to pay the fee for Alexander Isak. Now, in the current market, Alexander Isak is arguably the third best centre forward in the world behind Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe. That kind of a player commands a fee of 130 to 150 million quid in the current transfer market. If Nicholas Jackson's valued at 80 million quid and he can't hit water if he fell off a fucking boat, Alexander Isak is worth 150 million quid. There is no doubt about that. If Enzo Fernandez goes to Chelsea for 100 million quid and Caicedo goes from Brighton to Chelsea for 100 million quid for holding midfielders, you bet your arse Alexander Isak is worth 150 million quid 2 years later. So Liverpool are trying to get him on the cheap. Bidding 110 million, 40 million quid under Newcastle's valuation was never going to let Newcastle have this deal happen. But it's unsettled Isak enough to the point where he doesn't want to be. I'll get into Isak in a second. But that's number one. So Liverpool won't meet the valuation. That's number one. That's the reason this deal won't happen. Number two, Newcastle getting in a replacement. Now, Newcastle thought they were going to get Benjamin Šeško. Looked like it was going to be on. We were all excited about it. Manchester United pipped us to the post. Once again, maybe the recruitment team from Newcastle United wasting their time on a player who was clearly waiting for Manchester United. Everything you looked at, read and heard, he looked like he was waiting for Manchester United. So why did we waste our time putting so much effort into that deal? We could have been over in Porto doing the deal for Samu and had that deal done. And Isak could have fucking been gone by now and not been dragging us through the mud like he's doing on a daily basis. So those two things are yet to happen. Now, Newcastle could hopefully get in Wissa, who I know is doing the same thing at Brentford before the comments come in the bottom there. I don't agree with what Wissa's done at Brentford, but he's come back to training. He's training with the group. He's reintegrated with the group, which is something Alexander Isak is refusing to do. So Wissa's different to Isak, right, in that regard. So, and Brentford are looking like they're going to bring in a replacement centre forward, which we can't do at the minute. So that deal is completely different to the Isak one in that regard. That's just people trying to, justify Isak's actions. So if they can get Wissa in, maybe they go and try for a player like Ollie Watkins from Aston Villa, but he scored the other day. I don't think Villa want to lose him, to be fair. I think it would be mad for Villa to give him to a rival like us. We wouldn't give our player to rivals. I don't want Isak to go to Liverpool. So I can't see why Villa would sell us Watkins. So that's maybe out the window. Is anything in Samu? I don't know. It's just noise at the moment. I don't think there's anything kind of concrete from the club or from any journalists that are really talking strong about it. We've made some inquiries, but again, 80, 90 million quid for a 21-year-old. Again, that backs up the Isak valuation. Again, he's got 27 goals and 40 odd appearances for Porto in the Portuguese league. He's only 21. Didn't quite cut the mustard. Atletico Madrid doing well at Porto. But you want 90 million quid for him. But Isak isn't worth 150. He's got 2 seasons of 20 goals a season. Arguably the third best striker in the world. Yes, he is worth 150 million quid Liverpool. So if you want him, you pay the fucking bill. But this situation with Isak is a power play from him and his people. But I actually think it's a little bit of a smacks of desperation. Now, let's just look at this situation, right? Take your black and white glasses off. Even take your red glasses off if you're a Liverpool fan, okay? This lad signed a contract for 6 years at the football club. He may have been promised something by the former hierarchy, but it was never put in writing. It's 2025. You never sign a contract without something in writing, something that's legible, something that's tangible, something that you can then go, well, no, you put it down there. That's why you can't do this to me. You wouldn't do that in a normal employment contract if you were stacking shelves in a supermarket or working in a factory. So you shouldn't expect it as a footballer either. So he signed that contract with no written guarantees that we would stick by this supposed wage increase 3 years in. Now, the other way to look at it, does he deserve to be on more than 120 grand a week? Yes, he does. Fucking targets on 100 grand a week. So he does deserve to be on more than that. But apparently the club offered him 200 grand a week. He didn't want that either. But clearly Alexander Isak wants to go and play for Liverpool. And I get it, right? He's going to win more trophies at Liverpool. He might win the Champions League, never mind just qualify for it. You know, I understand why you'd want to go to Liverpool, but there's ways to go about things and there's ways not to go about things. And the way that he and his people in particular have acted this summer transfer window has been absolutely abysmal. Now, he can throw a power play out there. He can throw the biggest fucking rattle out of his pram and say, I'm never going to play for Newcastle United again, regardless if you sell me or not, this transfer window. It means nothing. It means absolutely nothing. I'll tell you why it means nothing, right? Because he's only going to damage himself. If he refuses to play for the club that employs him after the transfer window shuts, his career will disappear into the ether. Look how quickly these massive, brilliant, exciting, wanted players disappear into the ether. Look at Victor Osimhen. You know, with all due respect, playing for Galatasaray, he was touted as the new Drogba, one of the best centre forwards in the world. A bit where Isak is now, threw his toys out the pram, was a bit of a knob, had an entourage, and now he's disappeared off to the Turkish league, a league that's way below his standard of play. I'm sorry, but it is, right? Paul Pogba was exactly the same. People said he was the best midfielder on the planet. I always thought he was a bit overrated, but Pogba went from being a 90 million quid player in Manchester United to being toxic to signing for Monaco on a free. This is what will happen to Alexander Isak if he continues down this route. I think they're doing this desperately to make Newcastle buckle and bend and give in to Liverpool's cheap bid to get the player out the door. They're trying to make it to the point where it's worse keeping him around than it is keeping him in the squad, right? Now, everyone's getting pissed off with this and getting emotional and saying he's a disgrace. I can't believe he's disrespecting Eddie Howe and the team and the fans and the club. And I'm with you. I'm fucking right there with you guys, right? But let's look at this sensibly for a second, right? He's the third best striker on the planet. We are not going to get a player anywhere near as good as that. He's got 3 years left on his contract. If they won't pay the money to get him out of the club, to reimburse us to go and buy somebody close to that ability, fuck him. They can fuck off and buy somebody else. And he can fucking stay at the football club that he signed a long-term contract for. I'll tell you what I think will happen is he'll sack his fucking agent when this window's shut. Because if he refuses to play for this football club after this window shuts, his career will disappear. That's exactly what happened. He'll go from being the best striker on the planet, arguably in some people's eyes, to, that guy, Alexander Isak, he was good a few years back. Now he's playing over in the MLS or fucking Saudi or France or wherever. That's what will happen. He's not going to do that. He wants to make that big move. He wants that big move, right? He thinks this now, right here in this time, is that big move, right? And Liverpool's a massive club. There's no doubt about it, right? This could be his big move. But if this deal doesn't happen and he goes back to Newcastle and he does reintegrate with the squad, which is something he's refusing to do right now, and he gets back to doing what he does best and scores goals, there will be a big move again in the summer. It might be Liverpool again. It might not be. It might be Barcelona. It might be Real Madrid. It might be Bayern Munich because Harry Kane's starting to age out. There will be big clubs that come back for Alexander Isak next summer if he sorts himself out. If he's petulant and stroppy and doesn't perform and doesn't want to be involved in the Newcastle United squad and the whole season goes by and he's just a shadow and he's not even there, he will not get that big move. Liverpool won't even come back in from because they'll start to question his attitude and his behaviour. So he has no power here. It looks like a power play, but he doesn't have the power. Newcastle United need to dig their heels in more importantly than ever on this particular occasion. I know there'll be people in the comments, probably Liverpool fans or plastic Liverpool fans, giving me shit about this, but the lad signed a contract with no written get-out clauses. So he's in the contract. So somebody either buys him out of that contract, which is what 150 million quid bids for, or they don't, and he stays at the football club until the contract runs down. Right, and he can leave on a free if he wants to. That's 3 years' time. He's not going to want to do that. He doesn't want to be here this summer, apparently. So he's got no power. But more importantly for Newcastle United right now, if we don't make a stand right now, if we don't dig our heels in and tell Liverpool you're underbidding for our player, you're not getting him unless you pay that figure, then this is going to cause Newcastle untold damage for years to come. Because if we give in now to Alexander Isak because he's thrown a strop, he's thrown his toys out the pram, what's going to stop City coming for Tonali next summer? What's going to stop, Arsenal coming for Bruno Guimaraes? What's going to stop Real Madrid coming for Sven Botman or something like that? It's not going to stop teams coming in and picking our best talent away from our football club, and then we go right back to square one. So it's very important for me that the club dig their heels in this and do not buckle or bend, because Alexander Isak is acting like a petulant child. His representatives are appalling, absolutely fucking shocking. You should sack them on the spot. You look at his representatives' client list, and with all due respect to them, they're all kind of really low-level players. Alexander Isak is his jewel in the crown by a mile. His agent is sniffing a big payday here. He wants the big signing-on fee. He wants the big wage fee. He wants all the commission that goes with it. He doesn't give a fuck about Newcastle. He wants Alexander Isak to make that big move, and he's in his head and he's in his mind, and he's making Alexander Isak potentially act this way. But Alexander Isak is a grown-ass man, and he has the perplexity, and he should have the level-headed nature to understand he's acting like a fucking arsehole here. And this does not make you look appealing to other clubs. If you go on strike and you refuse to play for the club that you're currently employed at because the bidding club won't pay the fee that they've set as you as a player, this looks awful for Alexander Isak. The optics look terrible. Barcelona going, don't know about him now. We fancied him for the Lewandowski replacement, but he's going to behave like that. Not sure about that. Real Madrid, we quite liked him, but he's like a bit of a dick, isn't he? They might change their mind on this. And this is why Isak will not refuse to play for Newcastle if he does not leave this transfer window. For what it's worth, I think if Newcastle could do a compromise, and Liverpool come back in with, say, 130 million quid, as long as we can get the replacement in, whether it be Samu or even if it's Ollie Watkins. No disrespect to Ollie Watkins, but he's not the Isak level, is he? But if you can get Wissa and Watkins in, I would sell him for 130 million, because I think he's completely disrupted the harmony within the squad. He's disrespected Eddie Howe. He's pissed all over the ethos and the blueprint that Eddie Howe's put in place for Newcastle United, and it's disgraceful the way he's behaved. Yes, he's an unbelievable player talent-wise, but when he can't be asked, he's the striker at the start of the season, at the end of the season, who just kind of, slothed around the pitch and couldn't be fucking bothered. Now we kind of get the idea he was down in tools. Some people said, I can't believe that he did that. I saw some stories doing the rounds that, apparently he down tools because he didn't want us to get in the Champions League because it would have been easier to sell him. Now, the cynic in you can believe it. The cynic in you goes, oh, yeah, I can believe that. I cannot believe a footballer would be that unprofessional and jeopardize his career, because if that comes out in the wash, Alexander Isak is that kind of character. Like I said, you see Pogba before, see Osimhen, people won't touch him with a 10-foot pole. So I don't believe that Alexander Isak has done that. I really can't believe it. I refuse to believe it. And if he has done it, then he is an absolute fucking shithouse, and nobody should fucking sign him because he's a complete prick. And then he said the C-bomb. It would warrant the C-bomb, but I don't want to get done off YouTube for it. But for me, this is a desperate move from Alexander Isak's camp, because they can see this deal slipping away. Even some of the Liverpool fans have started to say that they don't like the way this is going now, because if Liverpool, and to be fair to Liverpool, I've given a lot of shit, but what I'm seeing is Liverpool won't come back in without encouragement from Newcastle. So that tells me Liverpool don't value the player at the same figure Newcastle value him at. They might come in with 120 million, maybe 120 million. I don't think they'll get at that 130 million mark. Now, if Newcastle and Liverpool could get to that middle point and sell Isak, that's probably going to have the deal done. But that is dependent on Newcastle having the replacement. And since we lost Šeško, I really don't think there's anything else in the market that would make us not weak as a squad for losing Alexander Isak. And this is the thing. So I think it's very, very increasingly likely by September 1st that Alexander Isak is still a Newcastle player. Now, we'll see where his fucking threat lies there about never playing for the football club again. Because if he doesn't play for the football club again and he's still here till January, then his career will nosedive. I guarantee you, he will fucking nosedive, because not only will he be out of sight, he'll be out of mind. People will forget all about him. You know what football's like. It moves around quick. 1 minute, Michael Owen's England's number one, and then a 16-year-old Wayne Rooney bursts on the scene, and he's the guy that everybody wants to look at. He's the guy that everybody wants to put the chips on, and he's the fucking main man. That's how quickly football can jump by you. If Alexander Isak wants to risk his career and sit and strop like fucking not train with the squad or play with the squad or anything like that until January when the window opens again and he hopes for another move, he will be out of sight and out of mind. So for me, it's an empty threat. I think Newcastle right to dig their heels in. The only way this changes for me is if the board manages to secure what you would call a top-level centre-forward. And at the minute, there isn't anybody really in the market to get that figure on. I really don't believe that. I think Samu is probably the closest one, but you're paying for potential. But 90 million quid, for a 21-year-old who's had kind of 1.5 good seasons in Porto. That's a hell of an investment. So I think Newcastle do right to dig their heels in. I really do. I don't think we'll be able to spend the 130 million if we get it in straight away, because Liverpool even wanted to pay that in installments. So it's not like you're getting the cash up front. So Newcastle are right to dig their heels in here. And Alexander Isak does not have the cards and the power that he thinks that he does. You should have asked for something in writing from Andy Stavely. Your representatives have fucked up. You should sack him and go get somebody who's got a fucking clue. And then this won't happen to you again, Alex, because this is a real stain on what's been a really promising career thus far. But let us know in the comments below what you guys think about Isak's latest antics. Is it pissed you off even more? This is what he's hoping, you see. He's hoping that he upsets the club so much that Newcastle just agree to sell him for a low fee and he gets his dream move. Why give in to him? Fuck him. Dig your heels in Newcastle. Get every single fucking penny that you want for the guy that you feel that he's worth. Don't fucking give in to his demands, the prima donna bastard that he is, because that is a bad, slippery slope for other players to do the same shit. That's my take. Let me know yours, guys. Like and subscribe. Keep it ever more. Loads of content coming this week. The Premier League is back. I'm hoping for a good result against Villa. Maybe another couple of faces in. Malik Chow looks like that's about to be done. We'll do a video when he is announced, and Sandra from Greg's or Gary the taxi driver does a nice little video for him. I'll be on doing a video about Malik Chow as well. So thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, have a belter. See you later. Sort your head out, Alex. Stop being a dick. Have a good one. Cheers.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.